We have people right now that are furious that the most decorated hospital corpsman in the U.S. Navy has just retired, and essentially they're saying that he should have earned the title of Chief Petty Officer, and this has been going around the internet as his retirement has been officially announced. And being in the Navy for 13 years, you hear about Corpsman, Navy Cross. It is synonymous with H1 Louis Fonseca, as known as pretty much the torch holder of some of the old times back in the Iraq and Afghanistan era, where essentially the combat was at its hottest and people in his circumstances did their job and rose to the mission, and he was eventually awarded the Navy Cross. If you don't know, the Medal of Honor is the highest award that you can receive, and then the Navy Cross would be below that. And even reading the citation, I will say, how did this guy not get a Medal of Honor? That's just my idea, as I've read a couple of these before. And to give some context, any article that you've seen about his retirement, you are going to see comments which echo this. Chris Espinoza writes, I had the honor to serve with him on my second deployment. He should have retired as a chief. One comment below that, Miguel Comas. Sound like an awesome dude. It's disgraceful that the Navy didn't think that the most decorated corpsman on active service deserved to retire in E7 at least. If you don't know, the U.S. Navy is one of the only branches that has this brotherhood that you would see at the E7 and above level, which is Chief Petty Officer, Senior Chief Petty Officer, and Master Chief Petty Officer, which is formerly known as the Chief's Mess. Now, as an E6, in this situation, you do go for a board where they review your record, awards, if you've been in trouble, fitness scores, evaluations that you get seen for, and essentially you're compared against your peers and you're required to outperform them. Now, obviously, that brings a question, why does somebody with the Navy Cross not make it up to that rank? But let's read the citation first. The President of the United States of America takes pleasure in presenting the Navy Cross to Hospitalman Apprentice Louis E. Fonseca, United States Navy, for extraordinary heroism in action against the enemy while serving as Corpsman, Amphibious Assault Vehicle Platoon, Company Charlie, 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines, Regimental Combat Team 2, Task Force Tarwa, 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom on 23 March 2003. During Company C's assault and seizure of the Saddam Canal Bridge, an amphibious assault vehicle was struck by a rocket-propelled grenade, inflicting 5 casualties. Without concern for his own safety, Hospitalman Apprentice Fonseca braved small arms, machine gun, and intense rocket-propelled grenade fire to evacuate the wounded Marines from the burning amphibious assault vehicle and tend to their wounds. He established a casualty collection point inside the unit's medical evacuation amphibious assault vehicle, calmly and methodically stabilizing 2 casualties with lower limb amputations by applying tourniquets and administering morphine. He continued to treat and care for the wounded awaiting evacuation until his vehicle was rendered immobile by enemy direct and indirect fire. Under a wall of enemy machine gun fire, he directed the movement of 4 casualties from the damaged vehicle by organizing litter teams from available Marines. He personally carried 1 critically wounded Marine over open ground to another vehicle. Following a deadly artillery barrage, Hospitalman Apprentice Fonseca again exposed himself to enemy fire to treat Marines wounded along the perimeter. Returning to the casualty evacuation amphibious assault vehicle, he accompanied his casualties south to the city of Battalion Aid Station after briefing medical personnel on the status of his patients. Hospitalman Apprentice Fonseca returned north through the city of Company C's lines and to his fellow Marines that had been wounded in his absence. His timely and effective care undoubtedly saved the lives of numerous casualties. Hospitalman Apprentice Fonseca's actions reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the Marine Corps and the United States Naval Service. Yeah, so that's pretty intense stuff that you're seeing there. And like I questioned before, why is he not wearing the rank of Chief Petty Officer with a gold fouled anchor? And that's honestly, if you look at his shoulder during his retirement, he purposely wore these red stripes, which are actually no longer authorized, on the sleeve of his dress uniform. Now, every 4 years of service, you do earn 1 stripe for your service, and you do switch to gold at 12 years. It was known that if you got in trouble, non-judicial punishment, things like that, they would still be red to indicate that you had gotten in trouble at one point. The Navy back, I think about a year, 2 years ago, changed this to the point where everybody past 12 years gets to wear gold chevrons or gold on their sleeves. The thought process behind this are people can make mistakes but still be good people and should not be ashamed of their actions or be reminded that they got in trouble at a point previously in their career. To be fair, it has been very known that he's spoken about this across many different platforms. I've seen speeches on Facebook dealing with alcoholism, depression, suicide, stuff like that. So essentially, he has been very open with some of his struggles, and obviously that could contribute to some of the issues he's had with getting these non-judicial punishments, but I don't want to speak for him in that regard. I'll be honest, I got to hear his story over at the Navy Ball 2013, and it has impacted my thoughts of the Navy community. It has impacted my thoughts on how I'm going to serve and treat, and all these things is like being an independent duty corpsman for myself, that I really can't believe someone at an E2 level was doing this, and I'm sitting here with all this training as an E6, and I do know his wife was an independent duty corpsman as well, but it's just crazy to me that I have this knowledge and I could have to actually do this, and reading his story really touched me. The reason why we're talking about H1 Luis Fonseca here is not even just because he's a guy that earned the Navy Cross, right? We're talking about this because what he symbolized. What did Luis Fonseca symbolize was a generation of the hospital corpsman community, a generation of our U.S. military as a whole, to be honest with you, and carrying that tradition that goes with it. It actually kind of gives me chills talking about that, because I know that we are sitting here 20-something years later from 2001, right? And we're talking about where most of the people that joined during that time are out of the military now. You're saying, usually they say a rough estimate is 10 to 15% will stay to retirement. And we are at the tides turning. You're looking at most of our force has not been in combat, been in battle, done these things that he has done. So how do we keep that integrity, that knowledge, that wisdom? And, we have essentially forced him to retire because he's met the maximum amount of years here and he cannot serve any longer, even though this would be a great symbol to represent for other people what the military has been. But obviously, at the same time, I did talk about that brotherhood. And that comes with being a well-rounded sailor. He's come up through, I would say, a culture which has changed 100% since he first was in the military back in the early 2000s, where now in 2021, it has changed drastically. It's easy for me at the surface level to say, I'm outraged by this. But at the same time, I do respect that what a chief petty officer has to be. You cannot just ride on, oh, he's got a Navy Cross, so this guy's qualified to do the job, when there's so much more to that. And obviously, I don't know him personally to say if he would make a great chief or not, but these guys are echoing this on the comments. I'm seeing it across everywhere. But I will say that, I think that looking at this and from all the symbols and the symbolic meaning of what he represents and also him wearing the red stripes, this can mean one major thing. He has learned that you have to lead in your own way. And I tell people here, it doesn't matter about your rank, doesn't matter what's on your sleeve, whatever it is, you have to lead how you're going to lead. And it's not all about the paycheck. It's not all about that, because I think that this symbolizes the end of an era. And that era is the idea that we can make mistakes and bounce back. And I feel like that's been echoed in this culture that we're in right now, where we talk about cancel culture. We talk about all that kind of stuff, where you're talking about a guy that I know from his story, I think has had multiple non-judicial punishment issues right now. We can't bounce back from that stuff anymore. We can't bounce back from an NJP, from DUIs, or, unauthorized absence, whatever it might be. It seems like now that's just not the case, but he does echo this in many statements throughout his posts that are on Navy Times and also on Task and Purpose about he feels like it's about giving people opportunity to bounce back, which I will agree he has been given that opportunity. Obviously, that's how he's here at retirement. But this is where we get to the point of the video where I ask you guys, what do you think about Luis Fonseca and his inability to make chief right now and retiring as a HM1 E6 rank? And what do you think about this? Because I do know that there are two sides of the fence that are going to come out about this. And to be honest, I know there are people that are more intimate with his story and obviously know more. And again, I'm more than willing to share that story if H1 Fonseca wants to come on and we'll talk about that. But again, that's on their own accord. I just don't want to misrepresent anybody here. But as always, if you guys do you like what we do on this channel, we do have a Patreon link down below where you can support the channel for some special perks and benefits. Also, on top of that, we do have a membership button to the bottom of this video where you can get some special perks and benefits also on the main page as well. And by the way, I never normally do this, but we're talking about combat, we're talking about that stuff, and I did get some free promotional products that I said I would support this company just out of the sake of supporting it because of what it stands for, and it is a military-owned business that's out there, and that is Combat Comb Over right here. You can get it, code Nicky. I get nothing for that. You get 15% off. Definitely use this stuff today. That's how my hair is where it is. And as always, if you have questions about this or anything else, you can always hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.
I'm picking up right where I left off. The banging the drums and they point to me.